Hello, everybody. My name is Zerduku, and welcome back to Zap Entertainment. Um, the Gun Kid has read three books, and this will be his fourth. But as for his fourth book, now it should be noted that my editors had a hard time editing this book because this book was has a little bit of
Uncomfortable topics.
yes, we'll go with that because apparently my brain is not going to give me the word I want. But so at this point, since this is the final book, and this one was very difficult for some of my editors to go through. Gun Kid right now is starting to hear some boss music for this one. It's going to be very difficult for him to get through it, even though it's only 23 pages. uh, Get ready for the BQ number 4. Here's your final boss for this weekend. That was very not how was a god damn it fuck.
And again, once again, for a disclaimer, if this book is not for you, you're welcome to stop reading or stop listening.
Hey Gun Kid, why do I hear boss music? Just kidding.
I used to be the boss of my own game. Protagonist, really? Alright, Infinite World Battle Quest. Season 1, Book 4. Once upon a time,
Double X.
rated double X. If it was triple X, then it's an adult book. But now it's double X for
Well,
we gave you. Oh, sweet fucking Jesus! Is me the first page. All right. Everlasting darkness of blackened mist of Amahara lies the medieval castle of Black Iron. In the streets of Black Iron, there is a little girl with long red hair who is dressed in rags. She stares into the puddle from yesterday's rain, looking at her reflection and complimenting herself. And there I am, just a little girl forced to do her job, help people of this cursed city. My name is Klein, Clean, Celine,
I
Celine,
Celine.
and I'm 12-year-old's underage sex slave for an awful guard that protects the city. I can understand why they didn't want to edit this. I understand stuff happens in real life, but I'd rather never hear about it or see it. Little girl thinks to herself as she looks into her reflection in a puddle. Enjoying the sight, Cecil? Said a deep, graggly, gargled voice. Cecil turns to see her master, who is a 5 foot tall, overweight goblin. Oh, sweet fucking Jesus. I know some anime categories, and this is going to fill one of them. Sorry if it disappointed you, Master. Cecil responded with sadness in her heart, and using all of her power to prevent herself from crying. No, my young special servant. Standing out in the street is a good for business. But the best place for you to make me money is standing before the taverns of all of hell's soldiers. Can see a beautiful girl that could purchase for one night of their lives. I'm already disgusted, said the goblin as he grabs her arm and guides her towards the taverns. The city of Black Iron is known as Yamato Castle. Yamato. Yamato Castle. The goblins and dark elves have worked together for a very long time. Their history takes them back. The goblins built an agricultural system and now runs the entire world of Amahara. And most of the knowledge knowledge of demonic monsters come from the dark elves. Yamato Castle is home of both the goblin race and dark elf race. During the purge of the witch hunt by the Knights of Camelot, dark witches ruled over Yamato Castle, which caused a war between Knights of Camelot and goblin race. After the death of Luther Pendragon, Luther Pendragon, the Prince of Goblin, the Prince of Goblins, Prince of the Goblin race, demanded that control of Yonto Castle be given to him since it was his birthright. However, the witches did not want to give up the throne, but decided to compromise with the Goblin race, since since they happened to be allies. As the fortress of the witches was built across the river on the other side of Yamato Castle. Now, Yamato Castle is ruled by the Goblin King, and one of the four Dark Witches is in command of the Fortress of Witches, making the everlasting alliance of darkness. When Pendragon became king, or after Pendragon became king, he made a peace treaty with the Goblin race to stop the war. It was not it 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 not only successful. It not only was successful, but the Goblin race also helped Camelot with their economic system, since goblins are natural creatures of profit. Technically, goblins are not into fighting, but when it comes to profits, they can be extremely cutthroat, like Harry Potter goblins.
Uh, really?
Yep,
Okay, so I don't. I mean, I know a little bit of Harry Potter, like a decent amount, but I don't fully understand the goblins. I just thought they were just bankers.
that's what they are. They're good at economics and money.
This is slightly different. They're basically like in charge of businesses and stuff
So
here.
are the goblins.
Okay,
They're in charge of
so
business finance.
yet again, not thinking about it.
Since the goblins are not very powerful physical creatures, they have paid an army of hell soldiers to protect their city. As a reward, their guards, they offer both money and sex to help them during their jobs.
So basically, they have demons protecting their castle
Yep, and
walls
they
from
offer
monsters, and in order to do that, they had to not only
make a
offer
make a
money.
bargain.
Yeah.
Some sort of some of the dark elves do have to protect both the castle with the power of magic. Dark elves are extremely knowledgeable in the art of dark magic. They use their dark magic to help protect both their homes, both of their homes. However, most of the dark elves just study the dark arts for their own purposes. The Hell Soldiers were only adopted by the Devil King 6 years ago. The Goblin King was impressed by their strength and abilities that he put full trust in them to keep monsters from coming into the castle without permission. Not to mention, the Hell Soldiers are extremely powerful and more than capable of helping the goblins out if war ever breaks out. Despite the fact that the Hell Soldiers are sentient beings. Yeah. Sentient beings. My phone just went off for a second. It's nothing, just notification. All right. Sentient beings. They do not have a culture of their own. They just follow orders. Hell Soldiers are carnivorous. They don't seem carnivores. They don't seem to have any concept of rules or morality. The male Hell Knights are great with close combat. The female Hell Soldiers are better at using magic. When Celine, and her master arrive at the tavern, she can see two other children being watched by an adult dark elf, who works for her master as well. Celine reluctantly steps in line next to the other three kids. "Where'd you manage to run off to, Cecil?" asked the 14-year-old girl named Jasmine. Jasmine is a human with brown hair who is wearing a white rag like the other kids. All the other kids, including Celine, have dog-like collars around their necks, with their names and the names of their master. This is their this is their this is their this is their way to know who to pay in order to take them for whatever reason. Not Any more trouble with the other kids? Chris? Christ?
I think
Cyrus.
um,
Freeze. Crust.
I remember. I'm trying to remember who this dark elf name was. Um, yeah, I don't remember. You can pronounce.
Christ. Crust.
Chris-
Asked the overweight goblin master. Danny's too timid to do anything, so he stood there like a good little boy.
then he has that's a terrible attempt. Damn it!
But that
Fuck.
but that little annoying boy Sam tried to escape twice, said Dark Elf, known as Cryos. Danny is a 10-year-old boy with spiky dirty blonde hair and a thin frame body with blue eyes. Sam is an elf with black short hair, and is also the same age as Danny. Sam's actually a girl. You can even look under the rags because they're not even wearing any underwear, so you can see which one of them has or any one of them has a dick. The Goblin Master replied. Can't afford any real clothes? Asked the Dark Elf. It doesn't matter anyway, because they look perfect just like this. If we want to make any real money, we need to make them look at least a little lewd for our clients. I'm getting fucking angry.
Something tells me that
Shut up.
if Will makes a character and is made a character in the Infinite World Battle Quest, he's gonna dedicate his whole life on destroying these two dark towns.
I'm gonna destroy this whole town, the whole ecosystem of this town, the towns around it.
Basically,
Make this place a barren wasteland.
basically be a freaking rogue.
I'll call myself a Justicar.
A what?
A Justicar who puts justice in his own hands because it seems like no one else is going to stop slavery.
Well, you're gonna be hunted down a lot by both the good and the bad.
Well, they're both equally terrible because one side doesn't like slavery and the other side doesn't do anything against slavery.
The other side is a little ignorant to a certain extent.
There are those that suffer in silence. Rando is a rogue goblin who worked for me as a friend, and he sold me these kidnapped orphans' children in order to make money for the city. Explained the Goblin Master. Fucking Bob.
Yeah, Bob the Goblin.
You could have called him Bringle or some fantasy name. You just made him fucking Bob.
Yeah, well, I'm an idiot and I'm not very good with names. But I thought Bob the Goblin. It kind of stuck.
What's your lord's name, Bob?
Bob the Goblin.
Well, you definitely will bob in the water, you fat fuck.
What do you call him fat? Nom.
Honestly, this is a good purpose. I can rip your guts out from the inside.
If I can just remember the name of the goddamn self, he would probably call out for help. God damn it. I can't remember that fucking name now, and it's gonna bother me that this whole entire
While the Dark
book.
Elf and the Goblin Master have a conversation, suddenly Sam tries to run away. Immediately, the Dark Elf moves at lightning speed and blocks Sam's path in front of him. As if
Immediate response, strength 1 for the book. Although, honestly, I think we should put the strikes on hold for this one.
Sam's path means Sam begins to cry, wanting to get out of her current situation. Cruz grabs Sam by the throat and drags them back into the line, tossing them against the wall next to the other kids. The other kids gasp at the horrific situation before them. Runaway is absolutely pointless. Now tell me, you worthless child, why in the sky here? Why is the sky here always filled with dark fog? Asked Cayenne of Dark Elf. Yorwalta Castle is filled with it sits on the heart of the land known as Dark Fog Woods, which is filled with bloodthirsty demons. demon-type monsters. They told us that 100 times. Jasmine responded with an attitude. Just because you're so eager to off fucks of lowlife doesn't mean we need to be eager to be an evil witch, said the dark elf as he raised his hand about to hit Jasmine, but he was interrupted by Goblin Bob. That's enough. The little Sam girl may have had it coming, but Jasmine has proven herself to be the best one out of my. Oh, sweet Jesus. He's even a pimp. This is making my gut fucking act up because it's fucking revolting. Which means she does not deserve punishment, explained Bob, getting the Dark Elf's attention. Immediately after that, the guards of the city have arrived in the taverns. Oh, fucking. If it. Again, Dark Elf. Immediately at Dark Elf. Soldiers. Bob Goblin turns his head to see the guards approaching. The first guard who Bob approaches Bob is a female hell soldier named Ruby. Over time, Ruby has become notorious for accidentally killing the kid. Oh, sweet fucking. There's no God. There's no God that cares.
There's no God. We killed him.
You have kept him away from his children. The kids who work for Bob. As a result, some of the kids start to look worried. However, Jasmine's whole goal was to prove to her master that she was indestructible and therefore indispensable. However, Jasmine thinks to herself that now is not the right time to be with Ruby because she feels that she's not got enough practice with making more durable to hell soldiers of the Yamato Castle. Ruby walks past Bob and stands before the kids. Sam crawls beneath a bush and peeks her head out with fear. Ruby puts her hand on her chin, thinking of the gesture, looking down at the kids. This boy, Danny, 6 hours, said Ruby as she takes out a bag of gold size of a soccer ball and hands it to Bob. Immediately, Bob weighs the bag of gold on his hand, and then opens the bag to count the money inside. At the same time, Ruby walks up to Danny, but he looks of fear in his face. With a look of fear on his face, he shoves back away. Quickly, Ruby grabs his arm, prevent him from attempting to run. Well, that about checks out. He's all yours, said Bob with a grin of delight, knowing he's just got a lot of money. No, stop, please. Somebody help me, shouted Danny as he drags away by Ruby. After that, a male hell soldier approaches the children. I can understand why no one wanted to edit this. Looking kind of intense and exhausted, interested and exhausted at the same time. He only stared for a few seconds until Celine caught his eye. He smiles and turns to the Gold Master. 2 hours with Celine, said the Hobgoblin soldier as he gives Bob a bag of gold. Yet again, Bob inspects the money while the demon takes Celine by the arm and guiding her inside the tavern. Money checks out. She's all yours, Bob said, waving to the hell soldier. As him and Celine go inside the tavern, the demon takes Celine into the upstairs tavern private room. The demon picks a room and opens the door, closing and locking inside. Locking the window door behind Celine. Now, both of the demon and Celine are in a small room with a twin-sized bed and a second-floor window, overlooking the dark iron city. The demon takes off his weapon belt, leans against the wall, and starts to take off his arm pieces. Celine has been through this many times, and she cannot remember when she came from, or who her parents are. All she knows is that she can feel almost like an endless darkness, knowing that this will be her life forever without being able to choose. Y'all can read this.
I remember most of that. It's just lore.
He slips off his armor. The lore's all over.
It's not a little too quick. Uh, just highlight it, and I'll do my best with the camera.
Here it is, right here.
All right. Jesus. Yeah, it's hard to control. Never mind.
This goes on for 2 fucking pages. There you go.
Sorry for the inconvenience.
Because I.
All right, you can pause. You pause there. Pause there. Pause there. And I guess you could pause here, but I think from here, Gunkin's gonna start reading probably. Probably.
Leaving Cecil in pain, in a bed full of pain, being young, and not understanding was about, not understanding what this is about. She kind of wonders what the point of all this is. However, she's not completely denying that all of her experience was not completely. As a result, she wonders if the creatures who do this must feel some sort of satisfaction with their deeds. After that, after the Hell Knight soldier was done raping the child, I'm fucking disgusted. Puts on his clothes and some of his armor, and then before going downstairs, the main part of the tavern. As he was making his way out of the tavern front desk to buy some alcohol, he sees Bob sitting with his dark elf partner with the other 2 kids next to him. For a little girl, she's outrageously gorgeous. A pretty slave like that shouldn't be satisfied under my circumstances. For that, here's a tip, said the Hell Soldier as he tosses some copper coins and 1 gold coin onto the table where the goblin is drinking. I'm glad that you liked. Come back and spend as much time as you can afford. Bob the Goblin responded with a sinister grin. After that, the Hell Soldier went to the front table. At the same time, a familiar face enters the tavern with gray skin, white hair, and red glowing eyes. Comes a malicious and creepy man that was in the forest killing children vampires. He goes to the front desk to pay a small total to take one of the private rooms for the night. After he does that, he makes his way upstairs to the private room. Not paying too much attention, he steps into the wrong room, and which happens to be the one Cecil is still in. As he walks in, Celine is still without any clothes and is lying on the bed, seeming dead. At first, the malevolent man seems to be somewhat surprised by this, but it doesn't take long for him to realize that this is a victim of a young child that's being used as a sex slave. Since this also happens to be his home city, out of curiosity, he approaches the girl in bed and sees she's still alive. He walks over to the bed and turns her over. Immediately, he can see that she's only sleeping, and she was still alive. The malevolent man kneeled down to take a look at her collar. On the collar, it said, "Sex slave Celine, Owner by Bill Wilcock. Nice. At that moment, Celine opened her eyes and immediately jumped out of bed and cowered into the corner of the room. The malevolent man stood up and looked at her with a glare. Celine, my name is Draco. I am a vampire, explained the malevolent man, the creepy man. A vampire? Asked Celine, with a small hint of fear. Celine has never seen a vampire before. As a matter of fact, Celine rarely comes to Yamato Town. That's right, and it seems that you're a human being, but also a sex slave. What is your master? Asked Draco. A goblin, Celine responds with fear, as there could be possibility that he might want a piece of her. Come with me, Celine. I'll make sure you and your master have an offer, said Draco, with a very odd, welcoming voice. Just 10 more pages. Welcome smile on his face as he offers her his hand. At first, Celine looked at Draco's hands with surprise, and then her facial expression changed to doubt. She didn't want to trust Draco, because it's been hard for her to trust anyone in her life. But she had again looked at Draco's hand, and at that moment, she felt someone in her heart telling her to take his hand, as if there was a whisper in the darkness of her mind telling her that this would be okay to take a step forward. As a result, she stood up, and takes his hand, accepting the deal, almost like accepting the deal from the devil, for whatever dark path lays in front of her. Now, let's go see your master, said Draco, with a sinister smile, exposing his fangs. Cecil, there's an immediate response, but I'm ignoring it. Cecil nods her head yes, and they both head down to the first floor.
Celine.
What?
Her name's Celine.
Celine?
Yes.
Alright. As they they both head down to the first floor of the tavern. As they arrive on the first floor of the tavern, Celine was still without clothes, which resulted in all of the demons within the tavern noticing. As a result, they stared at her with mocking intent and lustful eyes. Stay with me, Celine. Now, where is your master? Said Draco, holding her close to keep away from the lustful demons. He's sitting over there, said Celine, with a soft voice, pointing to the table where Bob is sitting. Draco looked and saw that Bob was sitting down, just relaxing, drinking alcohol, with no emotion in his heart. He approached the fat devil with Celine by his side. Well, it looks like you found yourself another friend, huh? What happened to my rags? What happened to that rags that you were wearing? Asked Bob, the goblin, with no sympathy for safety. It seems the last client destroyed them without any care for your product, explained Draco in a malevolent response. At first, Bob had a confused look on his face. Then he went into Jenkins' gesture. Well, I guess that one is actually my fault. I should have made some more rules about the rags, so my clients were aware. Bob the Goblin responds, I don't see the point, since these useless rags only cost you 6 copper coins each. Crease responded, you shut the fuck up, Crease, and let this kind of gentleman have your chair, said Bob with a near shout. With pleasure, sir, said Crease, with reluctance as he gets up off his chair and Draco takes it. So, if I may ask, why did you bring her back here? Asked Bob the Goblin. Actually, I'm curious of how much she's worth, asked Draco the vampire. At the same time, Celine stood butt naked stood next to him the whole time. I sell my clients for approximately 1,000 coins per hour. And between those hours, you can do whatever you want to them. However, I do expect my clients to come back in decent condition, explained Bob. Explained Bob's logic. What seemed logic. So very well then. Let's begin. Let's see now, said Draco as he opens a large pouch that was tied to his vest. He takes out a large stack of coins. Draco opened the bag on the table and counted coins. At first, Bob was confused, had a confused look on his face. But when it turned confusion to shock to see how much a vampire have. I know you're busy counting, but who are you? Asked Bob the Goblin. Well, I'm afraid that does not concern you. Besides, isn't it rude to be asking your customers personal questions? Asked Draco, as it seems that he's done counting his coins. And slides them to Bob. Forgive me for being rude, said Bob the Goblin, with a sinister greedy grin looking over at the coins. I want Celine for 5 hours, said Draco, with a confident smile. The price is absolutely perfect. She's all yours, responded Bob Goblin. As immediate response, Draco closes his glowing eyes and smiles with disapproval. Then he stands up and lightly guides Cecil's arms around his side, walking past Bob as he laughed maniacally about his money. You should always remember that lesser evils are so easy to manipulate by much greater evils, said Draco. Stopped slightly behind Bob the Goblin. Bob hears what he said, but he was given a look of confusion because he didn't understand what he said. After Draco and Bob looked at each other for a second, Draco turned around and left the tavern. It doesn't matter what your stupid warning means, because money is money, said Bob the Goblin, as he turns around looking at the coins that he's collected, and a sinister smile. After that, Draco guides Cecil to the private hotel within the city. He guides Celine to within the middle of the room and walks over to the desk, where he takes a goblet out of the bag and puts it on the table. If you do exactly what I say, Celine, then that goblin will no longer have the power to tell you what to do. After all, immortality is a step towards great power, said Draco, as he takes a dagger out of his pocket and slices his wrist, pouring the blood within the goblet. Celine did not listen to a word he said. She just stood there as she always does, hoping that she will survive another session. Then Draco picks up the goblet and walks over to Celine and kneels down to her height. Give me your wrist, Draco demands with seriousness, as he seems no will of her, seemingly no will of her own. She offers her wrist. Now drink this, Draco also demanded, again as he held Cecil's arm tightly. At first, she was a little confused, but yet again, with no will of her own, she took the goblet and drank the blood. At the same time, Draco exposed his vampire fangs and drank Celine's blood from her wrist. With a combination of nasty taste of his blood and being bit, Cecil sort of cringed and didn't try to fight back at the same time. After that, Draco let go of her arm and wiped the blood from his mouth. After finishing off the goblet, Cecil looked at him with no emotion on her face, other than disgust from the taste of blood. She only stares at him for a second when suddenly she drops the goblet and starts had hard time trying to breathe. She felt pain. She felt the inside of her chest was getting very tight, as it became more painful just to breathe. She stumbled backwards and fell onto the floor, gasping for air. Becoming a vampire is extremely painful, but if you manage to survive, then you'll never have to worry about again. You have nothing to worry about again. After all, nothing be achieved without some form of suffering. Now, now that I think about it, the goblin did say you that I could do whatever I want. Do whatever I want of you within a certain time limit. Of course, he also did say that come back in a condition. All right, condition for my eyes. Close my eyes for a bit. Focus. Good. Certain time limit. Of course, he did say to bring him back to his client to come back in a decent condition. However, he did not specify if being dead was also a condition, if also a decent condition, or not, or even better than come back as a monster. Said Draco with a sinister smile, as Cecil rolled around on the floor, trying to breathe. After that, he left the room. Locking the door behind him, leaving Cecil to suffer. She started to cough uncontrollably, and then she stopped breathing for a moment. She can feel the cold hand of death ripping her soul. As a result, she lost complete consciousness, and she woke up and felt an enormous cold on her body that felt like a dozen bee stings. As a result, she tries to stand up, but she fell down onto the floor, wrapping her body with her limbs. She started to slip back into unconsciousness, but she didn't. By the time she started to regain consciousness, her skin had turned gray and her eyes had turned red. She started to get up, but yet again she felt such pain in her mouth, and she grew vampire fangs. The pain was only lasted for a few seconds, but after that she felt nothing. She no longer felt she can no longer feel the temperature in the room, and when she stood up, she felt completely different, as if she was a different person. She looked around the room, and everything looks different. To her, darkness seemed brighter than light, but at the same time, light seemed to be too bright. She walked over to the table, the table of a mirror, and she looked into the mirror. She saw what she saw was her gray dead skin and her red glowing eyes. A hint of fear was in her heart at, as she was looking at herself, but she felt a lot of energy in her body. The best way she could understand it is that it felt like power, as she was getting over the shock of what she had become. The door of the door was unlocked, and Draco entered the room, seemingly ready to fight. "How do you feel?" asked Draco, now expecting not expecting a response at first. Celine didn't say anything, just turned and looked at Draco. "I feel alive, but somehow I'm not." "Why did you turn me into a vampire?" asked Celine, not understanding the situation. As an immediate response, Draco snickered and put away his crystal sphere in his pouch on his belt. "You are truly amazing, Celine. As a matter of fact, as soon as I saw you, I knew you would survive. Most children at your age who become vampires become wild animals with no ability of speech or independent thought. I saw your pain, and thought for all the misery that you've been through, somehow gave you the power to become the first sentient child vampire," explained Draco with pride. As an immediate response, yes again, Celine looked at her hands with her vampire claws, trying to understand the situation and the power she received. "So, you wanted to see if my sadness and pain that I've been through my whole life will give me strength that others do not? I guess you must have had a lot of faith in me. Celine responded. You shouldn't put yourself down. Most most petty children are blocked off from the darkness of the world. And those children who have not experienced the darkness of the world do not survive. Not only have you survived, you have evolved instead of breaking like a weak twig, said Draco as he grabbed the bag from behind the bed and takes out some clothes for her. She slips on some proper black undergarments and a bra to go with the that fits her perfectly. Then he gave her a black leather skirt that that had the markings of bat wings and a black T-shirt. He combined He combed her hair and tried to get a single, tried to try getting a
You
single
know, I
ponytail.
think that was the first time someone actually treated her as a little girl at that point.
Mm. Then she put on some armor on her chest and arms before clipping them together with a red vampire cape. You are now wearing the exact armor, the exact clothes that my people would have called a vampire warrior, said Draco as he offered her a small light sword. I don't know why you are doing this for me, but I will be forever in your debt for giving me this power. However, I still belong to another master, said Celine, refusing the sword. That fool does not deserve you, but I am deserving for you to be my servant. My goal is to make the first vampire children that can be trained to be like any other sentient creature, explained Draco. Call for the sword. So your goal is to show that children can can become proper vampires. Well, in that case, I will do whatever it takes not to disappoint you, master," said Celine, taking the sword and strapping it to her belt. A few minutes later, Bob Goblin was in the tavern, slightly drunk. So Cayenne was with him, but he didn't like it when his boss gets drunk. So he rolls his eyes and walks to the left. When Cian was about 30 feet away from Bob, there was a familiar shout. "Hey, master! Hey, fucker!" shouts Celine. With a drunken, confused look on his face, he looked to see who said that. But the first thing he saw was a sword going through his throat about fucking time. "Sorry, master. I was just so hungry," said Celine.
Can, if you don't mind, I would like to change that line a little bit.
What?
Instead of being hungry, is so thirsty. Can you do that, please?
Oh, hang on, fine.
Thank yous.
You're welcome, said Celine as she evolved bleeding out. After that, Celine exposed her vampire fangs and drank his goblin blood. Cayenne turned to see a horrific sight. "What the bloody hell?" shouted Cayenne as as he was about to cast a spell, but he got hit in the face by a crystal sphere that knocked him to the ground. Sorry, but I don't have anyone hurting my new servant," said Draco with a sadistic smile. "You'll pay for that, stone stalactite," shouted Crayon as a part of the ground started forming stalactites out of stone and launches them out at Draco. Spirit Fang.
Spirit Fang!
Spirit
Sorry.
Fang as said Draco, as he defends himself with tranquil energy, turquoise energy, blasting the stone stalactite and disintegrated them. It seems that your magic isn't as good as mine. If I were you, I would back down, said Draco with evil confidence. That was just a lucky shot. Poison bolt, shouted Cayenne. That's out. Sorry,
That was just a lucky shot. Poison bolt!
as he throws a green fireball at Draco. Spirit Fang, shouted Draco as a turquoise colored energy beam came out of the crystal sphere towards the green fireball. The crystal energy seems to disappear when it touches the green fire, which results in the explosion that causes the crystal ball to go flying into the Draco's chest, making him fall to the ground. Cayenne, Kreese, whatever her fucking name is, took a few steps forwards, about to finish off Draco, but Celine dashes then with blinding speed, and decapitates Kreese quickly.
Decapitation! We had to do that at least once during these sessions.
When Draco stands up, he sees Crane's body spraying blood all over the place. Out of what's left of his neck, of his body, falls limp on the ground. Susan looks at her master with humility as she puts away her sword. Well, it seems that you and I are destined to be allies. Let's make the new world order for the vampire race, said Draco, as he holds out his hand, and the crystal sphere levitates back into his hand off the ground. To be continued.
Okay, other than the really bad human trafficking part, what do you think of what happened to the bad guys at the end?
That's all I care about. I'm glad they're dead.
You thought so that part was good. Here's another question I want to ask. What about the lore itself? What do you think of the lore?
I just couldn't overlook how fucking fucked up all of it is.
Yeah, well, that is actually this is actually the dark part of Amahara is the goblin race, the vampire race, and of course the witches and all that.
So I believe
They're
I've lost interest on both factions because both can't even do anything.
well, the only reason why the good guys don't do anything because they're just trying to prevent war. Because
While
wars,
thousands suffer.
nothing. They're trying to avoid lots of death.
And I feel highly uncomfortable.
Well, anyways, please like and subscribe. And this is Gun Kid and Zertuku finally signing out for
Later.
a while.